AskReddit. Do you have any, well, that shut him up, stories from working in customer service? One of my favorite stories from my brief time in customer service was when a man who called up the night after a minor hurricane, screaming that his service didn't work, that he had complained multiple times and this was the last straw. Clearly our service sucked, and it was our fault his cable was out. He kept cutting me off and calling me rude names when finally I just interjected, "Sir, your cable isn't out because of an issue with our service. Your cable is out because a tree branch fell across the cable line." "What's that?" "How do I know?" "Because you live at 78 Fake Name Road, and I live at 75 Fake Name Road. I saw the branch fall. I'm the one who went out in the rain last night to get the branch out of the street. In fact, I know you know it's a branch, because I could see you looking out your window at me moving the branch that fell on your property. Not only that, but when I was done, I went inside and called in to work on my day off, to arrange a bucket truck to come out and rerun the cable, so you could beat the rush of calls that came in all across the island due to the storm. You didn't even have to call. A truck is already en route." Well, that shut him up. I worked at a photo printing lab, and we got people in all the time who claimed we were stupid and had messed up their pictures. One woman had us print 800 vacation pictures. They were bad quality, dark, and out of focus. When she came to pick them up, she insisted that we had ruined them, that they were perfect in her camera, and that she had a very expensive camera, and so there was no way the pictures could be dark or out of focus. We finally gave her her money back, even though we had done nothing wrong and were out a lot of time and paper. She called us 30 minutes later and told us she was at a store across town, and they had reprinted all of her pictures and they were beautiful, in focus, and nice and bright. I had to tell her that the same person who owned our store also owned the store across town, and that not only would it have taken that store several hours to reprint 800 pictures, but their printer was down that day, so they couldn't have printed anything. She hung up on me. I worked at a concession stand for a children's baseball park. It's a large park, 9 or so fields, and we get lots and lots of customers. Having lots of customers, we have to make things in large quantities, and the quality isn't especially swell. It's a concession stand, not a restaurant. Anyhow, it's about 20 degrees out, and people are ordering hot chocolate by about 5 cups at a time. Only 2 of us are working. It's funny how people magically get sick when the weather is shitty. The process for making hot chocolate is putting an extremely large container of water in our extremely large microwave, and then stirring in an extremely large amount of cocoa powder. It's nothing fancy, but it tasted pretty good all things considered. Late in the day, I was working the register, and my coworker is running around making everything. A lady come up to the side window, screaming at my coworker about how he's ruining the hot chocolate. My coworker can't hear her, seeing as how she's yelling through a window at a guy working around a lot of refrigerator fans among other things. She finally comes to the front counter and tells me he's ruining it. "Why?" I asked. "Oh, he's going to ruin the milk. He's going to ruin it in the microwave." Me. "There is no. Oh, he's going to ruin it." Me. "Peter." Coworker, "You there?" Me. Pretending to get super pissed. "Don't ducking ruin that milk." Oh. Coworker, "What milk?" Me. Still yelling, "The ducking hot chocolate milk." Coworker comes up to the front looking very confused. "There is no goddamned milk." Me to the lady, I suppose we don't use milk." She left looking very scared to talk to us ever again. Used to do cell phone customer service for a call center in Canada, though it was an American cell phone company. Got a call from a right pissed off Texan who had been passed around from agent to agent, with no one really listening to him, making him even more angry, and understandably so. So, he gets to me, and he's just a whirlwind of F-bombs, yelling and swearing, that I can barely make out what he's saying. In my sternest person in charge voice I say, "Sir, that's no way to talk to lady." Right away he goes, "Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am." And we resolved his issue within a couple of minutes. Oh, Texas. I love your old school gentlemen when they're not drowned out by your extreme fundamentalists. I bet he slowly took off his 10-gallon hat, ran his fingers through his hair, and hung his head in shame. Not me, but my former boss. I used to work in an old family-owned gas station / garage, in a small town in boondock nowhere. Since it was family-owned, and 90% of the business came from regulars who had either business accounts or got their family's cars fixed at the shop, and had for generations on both sides. As such, the random passers-by getting gas on their way to and from cities, on either side of the town made up a mostly negligible amount of business. The gas station side of the business made up maybe 2% of the business, and of that maybe 5% was non-regulars. So, my boss couldn't give less of a shit about some of the annoying customers who came in. One day we got a particularly bishy soccer mom. This was during the summer a few years ago, so the gas was very high compared to the rest of the year. She was convinced that our pumps were purposely calibrated incorrectly, so that less gas was pumped. Her proof was that she always got XX dollars in gas and it always went to XX% full. Well, we had just had our shit recalibrated for the year, and knew it was all good. She kept complaining to me about it, and being a high schooler I didn't give a flying duck. But, I kept up appearances, and was polite, kept telling her that we had just had our pumps calibrated. She didn't care and kept complaining. Eventually she asked for the manager. Well, the office was right behind the counter, and my boss was in there listening the whole time. As soon as she asked for him, he simply yelled out, "Duck off." And that was about it. I just shrugged at her, and she left. My boss was awesome with shithole customers. Used to work in a pawn shop. We got lots of jewelry in, and a lot of times the person bringing in the jewelry would have no idea that some of their stuff was fake. 9 times out of 10 they would get pissed and leave their stuff with us to be thrown out. My coworker accidentally left a really gaudy, but fake gold chain out on the desk one day. A customer came in, noticed the chain and told us that we'd better put it away before someone stole it. I was about to, but then I realized I could have some fun. We ended up leaving the chain on the desk, and would casually watch people as they came in to do business. We caught a number of people trying to steal the chain. One guy in particular was talking us up, and gradually pulling the chain off the counter. When he had successfully pocketed it and left the store, my coworker and I began to crack up. Sure enough, about a week later the guy came back in with the chain that he stole, and tried to sell it to us. When I refused to buy it he got pissed, but then we showed him the security cam footage of him stealing it. We weren't even pissed. Someone that dumb deserves to live his life that way until he walks out in front of a bus or into a wood chipper. A customer wanted to return a computer that was about a year old when I worked in retail. I asked him what was wrong. It just don't work. I powered it on, gets into Windows, connects to the wireless network, goes online. I open Office, everything seems to be working properly. I show it to him, ask him what's wrong. It just don't work. I asked him what was actually wrong with the machine, let alone why would you return a computer a year later. It just don't work. Are you saying if a car don't start, it works fine? At this point I had enough of the guy. No sir, I'm saying if there was a car and everyone could start it except one person, I wouldn't blame the car. I was working at a gas station in a very rich part of town. During a nice summer day, a prime example of the douchebag variety of the human species drove his super expensive Lamborghini in, and in that haughty, "I'm rich so you must do what I say" voice, demanded that it be filled with premium. Which the attendant started to do, only the guy immediately snatched the nozzle from him and screamed at, "You're too stupid to do this on your own. We're in Oregon, by the way, where you can't pump your own gas. State fire law." Well, being that he's a douchebag and an idiot, gas spills out from the nozzle all over his sparkly douchemobile. At this point, he truly flips out, and storms into the store, where I'm working as the cashier and de facto manager. He immediately demands to speak to the owner, and that we are going to pay to have his car repainted, and he's not going to be paying for his gas. I try my best to calm the situation, but he's got a good rage going and doesn't want to be calmed down, damn it. While he's spewing forth, I notice that an officer from the local police department is about to come into the store to get snacks or a drink or some such. This gives me a nice idea. "Sir, I'm afraid that the gas is in your tank and you pumped it yourself, so you are going to have to pay." Cutscene of an explosion. Douchebag then asks, "So, what exactly do you think you can do if I just go and get in my car and leave?" "Thank you, good lord, for timing." He says this at full bellow, right as the officer walks through the door. My response? Well, personally I can't do much, but the nice West Lynn police officer standing behind you will probably arrest you for second-degree theft. Douchebag turns around to see the officer, with a very predatory smile on his face, nodding vigorously. Yeah, he shut up, paid, and we never saw him again. I was eating at a Taco Bell once, and I was waiting to ask for some sauce while another customer was yelling at a kitchen employee. She had pulled apart her burrito, and was complaining that there wasn't enough in it. I leaned over and said, "Looks like 89 cents worth of food to me." She stormed out. Customer smoking in a supermarket, 2000. Staff member asks customer to stop smoking. Customer refuses to stop. Customer escalates to me, as customer service manager at the time. I grabbed a fire extinguisher, large, CO2, walked up to the customer and said, "If you don't put the cigarette out now, I will be forced to assume you're on fire and act accordingly." Customer dropped cigarette, stamped it out with her foot and left the store. I used to work for a grocery store in high school, as a cashier. One busy Saturday, an older lady came through my long line with about $150 worth of groceries. Among her items was a pre-packaged piece of meat from our deli department, that is normally priced by weight. Her meat did not have a printed sticker on the package, and I would have needed to find a bag boy or a manager to run to the deli to get it priced. Because we were super busy, I decided to wing it, and set it on my scale. Looks like it's almost a pound, so, let's say, $2.77? Does that sound fair? I began to ring it as a miscellaneous item. "No, it does not sound fair," she yelled. "You need to get that priced." Groans from the line began behind her, as I found a bag boy to run to get the price sticker. A manager came by to see what the commotion was about, and the lady explained the situation. I explained why I had made the decision I made. The manager of course stuck up for the lady, which we laughed about later, and she accepted the apology. We then waited for what seemed like an eternity of eye contact avoidance and thumb twiddling. The bag boy came back and handed me the pork. I smirked and showed her the price. $2.78. Huh, I would have saved you a penny. The man behind her chortled. Never saw her again.